animal protein is a complete source of protein versus plant protein, which is not necessarily a complete source of protein. So making sure if you are on a plant-based diet, making sure that you're actually getting probably more grams of protein than someone who eats animal proteins because you need higher number of amino acids. Hello and welcome back to The Wellbeing. My name is Madison,
My name is Rachel.
and today we're talking about how to eat more protein, why you should eat protein, and plant versus animal protein sources.
Yes, and diving deep into the studies on this one.
hmm Which there is quite a bit of. Of course, you can find whatever it is you're looking for. But I think we've whittled it down to the good ones. What do you think?
Definitely. Yeah, yep, definitely. I think that I think all along, like I remember growing up in school and learning about
hmm
the pyramid, right? The food
Oh
pyramid
God.
and like diving way back. But basically, we've all learned that there's different food groups and like macronutrients that we need to be consuming to be healthy individuals and beings, right? I do kind of feel like not that it like this is kind of like a craze topic. Like it's a newer topic coming to light that a lot of people are talking about as far as like weight loss, as far as just like health these days. And it seems like it's being highlighted way more than it was even like 5 years ago.
I totally agree. And I will also be the first to say that I think people are like protein obsessed. And I want you to know that when we talk about eating more protein and the importance of it, we don't mean don't eat fiber. We don't mean don't eat carbs or don't eat fats. Like be additive about this, but also make sure you're getting 25 to 40 grams of fiber and make sure you're having really solid, healthy fats on a regular basis, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is a huge topic for weight loss and just like meal prepping in general now because there's so many obviously products out there that you can do. There's so many different like meal planning that you can do. Um, and I think that what we talk about on here, like biggest bang for your buck as far as like cost, as far as health, is just choosing things, and most people know this, but like choosing things around the perimeter of the grocery store when making most of your foods. Like, does that mean you can't
Totally.
have like something from like chips and salsa? Like, no, absolutely not. I will be the
Yeah.
first to
And
go.
I think with that, right, like get most of your food from the outside of the aisles. That's where vegetables and like meat and cheese and whatever all is. But also like oatmeal is in the center aisle, and that's excellent food. And
Mm, rice,
rice and
beans.
quinoa, and like get your grains, get your beans, do the things. But I think the point of that is like, just like you said, just like don't just shop for Doritos and candy.
Yeah, just one bag.
Just one bag, not all of them.
But I do feel like the easiest way to, if you're looking to like revamp your meal plan or you're looking to add more protein into your life, the easiest first step that you can do is first of all, calculate how much you want to have. And second of all, start planning by incorporating like your protein first. So you're like, okay, what are we gonna have to dinner for to dinner? What are we gonna have for dinner? Let's pick our protein and then we can build around that.
Yeah, I totally agree. When I go to the grocery store, that's the way that I go about it. Like, I know I'm gonna have eggs for breakfast and protein powder. Like, that is for me the easiest, best way to get my protein in the morning. But then, like, lunch and dinner are always fluctuating. So I go and stand at the meat section and I'm like, hey, I have to make dinner 5 times this week. I'll probably go out to dinner or to a friend's house once or twice. What am I gonna do? And like, I just select, I can't say at random, but like meats at random to what I would like to eat, and then I go to the vegetable section
Yeah.
and get like veggies that go with that.
hmm Yeah. And I will say, you guys, Maddie is a fantastic cook. When I
So
was
are you?
there this summer, I don't think I made dinner last time you were at my house. Joe
No,
probably
but
did
I know
because
that you're a good cook.
I like meh. Maddie, though. I went over to her house and she's like, I'm just gonna make some meatballs. And I was like, okay. She just like didn't even follow recipe, just like popped together some like Turkish meatballs with this amazing sauce and like veggies. And I was like, this is literally amazing. So,
Thank you. What a
goals.
compliment,
I still
honestly.
like think about that meal. It was so good.
What? It's so easy. I'll text you how to do it.
Yes, but I'm a recipe person. Like I need
I
a
can't follow
recipe.
recipe.
I
Can't.
have to,
I'm
or I freak
incapable.
out. Yeah, I do. I'm like, oh, we don't have this ingredient. Like it's done. We're done for.
Oh no.
Yeah, I
Like I
know.
haven't had garlic powder in weeks. And I'm just like, okay, what could I do without garlic powder? What other things could I put in here?
Yeah,
But garlic's essential. It's honestly depressing that we don't haven't
garlic
had
is
any, but I
good.
keep forgetting it at the store and then
Yeah,
whatever.
you need that.
Um, so yeah, I think exactly what you're saying. Step one, pick out what you want and how much you want to eat. And I
Yeah.
think we've gone over this a couple times, but anywhere I like to say approximately 1 gram per pound of your goal body weight. So if you're like, when I am in good shape, I weigh 150 pounds or 120 pounds or whatever it is, in those cases, then you're going to want to try and eat 150 or 120 grams. But I will say, I tell people that knowing that most people don't get that on a daily basis, but I think it's a great goal. And then if you get around there on most days, most of the time, I think that's fantastic.
Definitely. And it's definitely something to work up to. And I think it just
Hmm.
helps you like make different choices too. Like if you go out to eat or if you like go to a coffee
Hmm.
shop or you're on vacation and you're like, ooh, I really want like the bacon and eggs and whatever for
Hmm.
breakfast instead of just like oatmeal or something because
Totally.
you know that that protein is going to keep you more full. So yeah, I think that
Hmm.
that's definitely great. And I think it's a good practice to have a number in mind so that when you
Hmm.
start looking up like how much does that actually mean per meal, if this is
Hmm.
something you struggle with and you have never used Chat GPT in your life, like go to Chat
Amazing.
GPT and ask them to create you a 7-day meal plan on and tell them how much protein, how many grams of protein. Like say I want 120 grams of protein per day, make me a 7-day meal plan and they will literally list it out for you and how much total protein is in each meal.
I love that.
Because I know it makes it so much easier because it honestly, like that is a huge barrier to consuming enough, I think, is just like I don't want to sit down and calculate all that. It's going to take 100 years, or like that just feels
Absolutely.
really overwhelming. So definitely try that out, and it'll give you a lot of good ideas. And you can always like type back in there like, "Hey, I don't eat dairy," or "I don't do so and so. I don't like salmon," or whatever, and it'll pop
Totally.
out different options. So give that a try.
Hmm. Love that idea.
Mm.
Genius. I've
Hmm.
never done that, but now I feel like I'm going to.
Yeah.
Um, cool. The next thing besides how to eat more protein, which is important, like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, eggs, meat, beans, is the differences I think between plant and animal-based protein.
Hmm.
And this is a really important thing to think about when you're thinking about what kind of diet and lifestyle you're going to go with. I have a lot, and I mean a lot, of vegetarian and vegan friends.
Hmm.
Um, and they're doing whatever. And I know one vegetarian specifically who works really hard to eat enough protein and like gets extra, lifts weights, like does all the things. And she's doing great, 10 out of 10. But I also know other vegetarians who I talk to who are very good friends of mine who are like, I eat maybe no more than 20 grams of protein a day. And like some of them, their periods are kind of like funky and don't happen all the time, or they skip them, or they're super heavy or super light. Like funky things like that happen. And your period, I know Dr. Sarabala says this all the time, is a report card every month of kind of just like
Hmm.
your internal workings of your body, which
Hmm.
is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So if something is like, hey, this isn't so normal, or doesn't seem normal compared to like the average, right? Maybe there is something going on there and something that you should think about.
Hmm. I love that, a report
Mhm.
card. I
A
mean,
report card.
you forget about it. And sometimes you're like, my
Mhm.
body literally hates me, and that is why this is happening. It's like, no, like maybe you hate your body. Just kidding. No, maybe like there are different ways that
Mm-hmm.
you can help it be better by,
Totally.
yeah. And
And food
protein
makes a
is one of
difference.
them. Yeah.
Protein and fiber make a big
Yeah.
difference for sure.
Yeah. Definitely.
But we definitely found some interesting research about plant versus animal protein.
Hmm. Yes. So some of the research that we found in general between like protein consumption and bone mineral density is that it can be helpful with building bone mineral density, especially in postmenopausal women that were maybe not consuming enough protein prior.
Mm-hmm.
But a key part of this too is that including some sort of training actually helps build muscle mass and bone mineral density, which we have talked about before, but it is really important. Like those three things all go together. So, like to build muscle at the gym, it's really, really helpful to be eating enough protein.
Yeah.
And also to build muscle, you can't just eat protein. It's important to train as
Yeah.
well.
I think you can kind of think about it like you can't expect to eat protein and just like your body know what to do with it when it comes to building muscle because your body is trying to follow like the path of both least resistance and being the most helpful. So when you strain your muscles and get to like that failure point we've talked about before, then your body says, "Oh, we need to be able to lift that amount of weight. That was really hard for us. Let's use protein to build muscle." But
Mhm.
protein is for more than just muscles. It does tons of stuff in your body, like builds up and takes down lots and lots of things. And so by providing your body with enough load as well as protein, those two things tied together are helpful and essential to making sure that you're actually getting enough
Mhm.
every day and building muscle, therefore building bone density.
Hmm. Yes. And as we all know, there's different kinds of protein. So there's animal protein, like what we get from beef or pork, or obviously like eating any type of animal. And then there's plant protein, which you can think of more like even because like even tofu and like seitan are more of a plant protein. And so these can be, there's different studies out there on this. And I know that animal protein a lot of times can show that it will help with bone health, definitely in a positive way. And then there's like some mixed reviews on vegetable protein helping with like bone mineral density and things like that.
Um, it's also interesting. There are some studies showing that more is not necessarily better when it comes to protein. So if you're eating like 300 grams of protein a day, that might be difficult for your body to process, right? So we do want to make sure that we're like distributing throughout the day, not eating too much, but having at least three meals containing 25 to 30 grams of protein is going to get you 75 to 90 grams per day, which is pretty solid, um, which can be optimal for protein synthesis. But of course, if you're trying to build muscle, then you need to give yourself extra. So I think it's 1 gram per pound of body weight per day if you're trying to build muscle. But if you're trying to just like maintain or um, not necessarily build muscle, you're not lifting weights, then eating less could be an okay option.
Yes. And I think just to clarify a little bit more too on like animal versus plant, there's a lot of studies out there showing a positive effect from animal protein
Mm-hmm.
on muscle mass preservation and growth. So things like fish meat, eggs, that's been researched a lot with muscle mass in women and shows a positive influence. But there's way less studies done on plant protein, and we're just like not sure, I guess, on that as much. So just something to take into account um,
Yeah.
with your
Also,
protein
oh,
sources.
other thing about plant protein is that oftentimes they have insufficient amounts of all 9 essential amino acids, whereas the animal-based proteins have are usually more complete proteins. So you're gonna have to eat a wider variety of things. So not just, let's say, legumes, which are limited in some things, and then having like nuts and seeds, and then you're also gonna need seaweed, right? So there's different you just have to be more specific about the foods that you're eating. I'm not saying you shouldn't be vegetarian or vegan or anything like that. Like whatever makes your body feel best and works for you is great. But you do need to make sure that you're eating enough proteins and amino acids. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Yes, it definitely does. It's super interesting too because the recommendations for protein amounts in a premenopausal or postmenopausal woman are similar to a female who's engaging in variable intensity intermittent exercise. So
Interesting.
like just solely like not even comparing exercise, but like solely based on like menopause and where you're at in that journey, you should be eating more to a point like if you were exercising at a variable intensity rate, which
That
is really interesting.
is very interesting and makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I guess like main point is that mostly all of us, myself included, like I'm not perfect every day. And I think it does take a lot of intentionality to have enough protein every day. But mostly all of us probably do need to calculate to some degree or take a peek at what we're eating and look at ways that we can boost our intake. Do you have any favorite do you have any favorite ways to get protein in, like tips or tricks that you do it to be able to get up like around 120-ish grams a day?
Yes, I like to start my day with as much protein as I possibly can. And I am
That
not a
just makes
person.
you feel
It just makes
better,
me feel
right?
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I usually start the day with 2 eggs and toast, which is 12 grams, which is not enough. And then I will have usually like a little bit of milk in my coffee with um, protein blended it up in there, which is like
Up in there.
22 grams. That's like 30 something. And then sometimes I'll like on my toast, I'll put avocado and sometimes cottage cheese. So it really ranges between like 35 grams and 50 grams, just like depending on how hungry I am, what I'm eating for breakfast, all those types of things. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I'm a huge egg
What about you?
girly in the morning. But I do think I used to only eat like 2 eggs and then I was good for like that was all I would eat for breakfast. And now like knowing how much you actually need, I agree. Like eggs, toast with peanut butter or cottage cheese, Greek yogurt with berries, something like that to add in addition to the eggs, because just the eggs aren't enough.
Yes, I totally and completely agree. Like knowing how much food you actually need to survive is interesting. And I think a lot of women were taught that like eating 800 to 1200 calories a day is like normal and good for you. But it's definitely not like I think that's like the needs of a 7-month-old or something like that. Like that's not how much you need. And a lot of people would be like, well, I'm trying to do it to lose weight and things like that. Eating 1200 calories a day for months and months and months at a time can like increase your cortisol levels, make it harder to lose weight, mess with your thyroid, like all of these different chemical processes that are happening in your body that require food to be done. If you're not eating enough food, will make it more difficult. And I'm not saying to like go eat 3000 calories a day. Like that's probably not great either if that's not like you're not like bodybuilding and trying to just put on as much muscle mass as possible. Um, but it is important to kind of split that medium and be like, okay, what do I actually, what amount of food do I actually need? And I think a dietitian can be really helpful for that and figuring out like, do I actually need to do this or not? What should I
Hmm.
actually eat?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think something that is super cool about eating enough protein that I've noticed too in
Mhm.
my life is it actually is really helpful with like hair and skin and
Yes.
nails.
Yes.
Which I think, yeah, sometimes you just are like, why is my hair breaking off? Oh, it must be because I live in Colorado and it's really dry, which could be part of it. And I was dyeing it blonde, and that's sad. Now I don't. But eating enough protein, I think like when you are doing that, you do notice some of these changes, or like your hair is growing faster. And like, I don't know, it's just very cool how much of a difference it makes. And then also just with how you feel in the morning. I think like even when I would wake up and eat oatmeal for me, it didn't make me feel optimal. I think it made me feel a little bit like bloated, different for everybody. But waking up and even eating like toast now, which like used to not be something that I could do, but like in addition with all of the protein, I feel like I can take on the day and I feel amazing.
Totally. If I eat just a slice of toast, I do not feel great. But if I eat, like you're saying, all of those things combined, I do feel good. Or if you are going to have oatmeal, I think there's a lot of hate about oatmeal on the internet right now. We don't need to be hating on oatmeal. Oatmeal is a great food, 10 out of 10, but it does need protein with it. So put protein powder in there. Put Greek yogurt in there, put some berries on there, like get a complete nutrition source out of it rather than just eating straight up carbs.
Yeah. I think something too, if you start eating more protein too, you realize how much your body craves it for dinner when we sit down and eat and I take my first like bite of dinner and it's like this, well, I think I've talked about this, but we got this cow, like we got half a
So
cow.
jealous of your
And it's
half cow.
so good. I know. I'll give you some of it when I see you, but it's so good. And like when you take that first bite
Mm,
and compare it even sometimes to like your body like craves chips or like quick little snacks, processed snacks sometimes if you're eating that.
totally.
It truly is like so satiating to take a bite of protein and be like, wow, this like feels good. This tastes amazing. Like it's actually going to fill me up where I get full and I'm not going to like keep wanting to just eat and eat and eat and feel
100%.
gross about it. So that's a
100%.
huge piece of it too.
Having something satiating is actually so important. I know, like, not even in the protein world, but if you are like, I need ice cream, like I need it, and then you are like, okay, but like I'll just have like one of these gummy worms instead, and then I'll just like do this, and I'll have a handful of these, and like suddenly you've eaten like 100 other things, and then you're like, okay, fine, I'm just gonna have the ice cream, and then you actually feel like, okay, I had ice cream, I feel satiated, like that's what I wanted. Then you could have just had the ice cream in the first place and avoided this like whole other snacking train.
Yeah, that's so
Um,
smart.
but having enough protein will also definitely help to avoid that issue.
Yes. It really is like once you get in the habit of it, it really is easy. And it's
It
like
is.
it feels like you're eating a lot, I think, especially like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, you eat 2 eggs, toast, and Greek yogurt for breakfast. Yes, I do.
Yes, I
I
do.
definitely do. But like which is way more than I used to eat, but I also like cut out like the snacking of some of the stuff that just like didn't
Hmm.
make me feel great, honestly. But
Totally. It'll make you feel way fuller for way longer.
yeah. Yeah. And then you just like can pre-make a bunch of protein on the weekends and then just like throw together salad, throw together
Hmm.
rice, quinoa, literally sweet
Also, if you ever,
potato, broccoli.
yes. If you ever Trader Joe's near you, which I do not, which is so depressing, they're pre-cooked like balsamic chicken, lemon garlic chicken, like all of those chickens that are like pre-cooked in their fridge section right there are phenomenal. I used to grab 2 or 3 of those a week and just put them in salads and bring them to school or work or wherever I was. Back when I lived in Wisconsin and New York. And honestly, it made life so easy. I would just get this giant bowl, like the biggest bowl I could find, fill it with as many things as I could find. So I would pick up like a can of corn and chickpeas and feta and lettuce and chicken and like just everything I could find and then just put it into meal prep. It took me maybe 25 minutes. And I just take it to work every day.
Yeah,
It was amazing.
I love that.
And I
That's
miss
super
Trader
easy.
Joe's.
Yeah, I know.
Miss it every day.
I don't miss it because we have one and I love
It's the
it.
best.
So
It's
it'd
the
be,
best.
yeah, I truly love.
Hmm.
But so yeah, I guess
Yeah.
like main point is if you're not having like an intentional source of protein for
Hmm.
each meal that you have every day,
Hmm.
you're probably missing out on quite a bit that your body needs to feel
I
good,
totally agree.
feel satiated. Even like if you're on a weight loss journey or like a tone, like trying to just tone up with in the gym and muscles and stuff like that, like that, this is what you should change today.
Totally. And it also is going to help balance your blood sugar, which I know is really trendy right now. I hope it's not just a trend. I hope that one sticks around. But balancing your blood sugar and having like consistent, not like giant spikes and lows is absolutely essential for being a human, but also for like preventing chronic illness and type 2 diabetes and brain degenerative disorders in the future. Like there are so many amazing reasons to keep your blood sugar stable, and using protein will help you do that.
Yes, definitely. And I know we talked about this on our coffee podcast about like how many cups of coffee you can actually have, and it is positive effects on your health, which is three to
Shocking.
four cups, which is insane, you guys. But I do feel like if I have 3 to 4 cups of coffee on an empty stomach, I am like freaking out, like wigging out, like anxious,
Same.
and what am I doing? And like unable to focus. But if I do drink that much, and it's different for everybody, but if I do drink that much and I notice if I have had enough protein for breakfast, I feel totally fine.
I agree. And I also know that last week, I don't think we talked about, or not last 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I don't know, whenever the coffee episode was. I don't think that we talked about the fact that drinking it on an empty stomach is probably not the best idea,
Yeah,
but it's probably not. At least
it's
adding like
probably not.
something to it if you're gonna have it on an empty stomach is a good idea.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
dietitians have told me that before, so that was
Or
interesting.
yeah, eating something shortly after, for sure is helpful too. But anything else, Mad?
I don't think so. I think my favorite thing today is that animal protein is a complete source of protein versus plant protein, which is not necessarily a complete source of protein. So making sure if you are on a plant-based diet, making sure that you're actually getting probably more grams of protein than someone who eats animal proteins because you need higher number of amino acids.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I like that one too. My favorite, I think, is just super simple. Like literally you guys go into Chat GPT and put in and have it make a meal plan for you. And you'll just see like, oh, I need
Mm,
to probably be eating way more than I am currently for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but it's gonna fill you up and be so satiating and like you're gonna feel so much better. So
so much better on
use
all accounts.
technology, yes, as your friend. And yeah, you can be picky on there too, and they won't be like you can be like, "Ooh, I don't like that," you
Mm-hmm.
know? And if I
I
did
love
that
that.
to if someone did that to me after I made a meal plan, I'd be like, "Are you joking?" They're not gonna do that. So you
They're
can do
not gonna do
whatever
that
you'd
because it's a
like.
robot. But always thank your robots. I always say
Yeah.
thank you to
Do
ChatGPT.
you?
Yes, because if it comes alive one day, I'm not going to be the lady on the street that didn't think they're robots. I'm serious.
Maddie's surviving a robot apocalypse.
Yes, maybe. It's honestly too scary for me. I'm not sure if I am going to survive that, but we'll see. At least I thank my robots. I always thank Siri too.
I love that. That's very cordial.
I try.
All
All
right,
right.
friends. Thanks for
Thanks.
joining today. Like, subscribe. Let us know what you guys want to know more about. We love knowing what you guys want to know too.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.